jealous that we're taking over.
You're not taking over.
Mate. What are you not doing here? Why are you closing the media? Why are you doing
You've got to be Muslim to come to Luton.
You fucking hate you motherfuckers. That's why.
Whoa!
Muslims will take over what?
I'm here today to show the face of Israel to Luton, which is allegedly a place where they're very, very anti-Israel. And I'm pretty sure that if you put the right case for Israel, you can get a good reaction off people. And if you go about it the right way, I think Israel's got such a strong case, it can be made anywhere.
Here because I love Israel, and I'm sick and tired of people always disrespecting Israel. And you can see for me, I'm from a Sunni Muslim background. And I'm here with my friend Joseph because it's great to show people of Muslims and Jews uniting, since we are the children of Abraham.
So we've come to Bury Park in Luton today to show that if you come to any neighbourhood in the UK and advocate for Israel peacefully and respectfully, you'll be welcomed by the locals. You won't be met with violence. This area has been a flashpoint. The EDL, Britain First and various other far-right organisations have come here and provoked riots and violence, and we want to show that if Zionists, Jews, anybody comes here and shows respect, then there will be no violence, and hopefully we can change some opinions about Israel.
I saw the atrocities that were going around in Israel, well, Palestine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I first heard about it. But to be honest, I heard from it on Arabic channels, not the mainstream channels as much, because they weren't broadcasted on there.
Why is that?
Most of the tabloids, newspapers, TV channels are owned by Jews, so I'm sure they won't want to deface their people.
Which stations are owned by Jews?
The Sun.
Is this Rupert Murdoch?
Yeah, Rupert Murdoch.
He's not Jewish.
Is he not
He's
Jewish?
Scottish.
Oh, is he Scottish? No, who's the other guy?
But the only reason I ask is I hear this a lot, and I always want to know who the Jews are that are controlling the media.
Omar, who's the Jews that control the media? Mr. Goldstein.
Who's Mr. Goldstein?
And Mr. Goldberg.
Mr. Goldberg, who are they?
The Brothers of Destruction.
The Brothers of Destruction? Are you making this up?
No, so you Google it.
The Brothers of Destruction.
That's right, yeah.
Alright, and would you support a two-state solution, so a Palestinian state alongside an Israeli state, if it meant there was peace in the area?
Of course, yeah. Why not? But to be honest, I'd let Palestine take more control, seeing as it was the home of the Palestinians first, the Arabs.
So was it a Palestinian country before it was Israel?
Of course it was, yeah.
Who was the ruler?
The ruler of the Palestinian state, the country. I think his name was I'm not too sure.
Yeah, because from my history, and you probably know more than me, there never was a country called Palestine. It used to be part of the Ottoman Empire.
Of course, yeah.
And then before that was part of different khilafahs.
Yeah. That's
because
right.
Jews have always lived there. Arabs have lived there for a long time, since the Arab conquest.
That's true, but Islam was there way before Judaism.
Really?
Yeah.
Where did Dawood live?
Basically, in the Quran, as a Muslim, I believe that, you know, the Jews will never have their own homeland.
Where does it say that in the Quran?
I'm not too sure, but I've heard it. And the Palestinians will always be in hardships.
Does it mention the Palestinians in the Quran?
The Palestinians, the Arabs.
The Arabs?
Yeah.
Okay, so Dawood.
Yeah, Dawood, yeah.
Where was he Jewish?
No, he was Muslim.
It was Muslim.
Yeah.
Dawood, Suleiman, also
Yeah,
Muslim.
all Muslims, but they followed different principles. They weren't Muslim. They believed in God. However, the teachings were different. However, I still believe that prior to them were Muslims, but their teachings were different. They still believed in one God.
But they weren't Jews then. They were Muslim and not Jewish.
Dawood was a Muslim. Yeah.
Yeah. Most people, most historians, most Muslims, including the Quran, says it was the Jewish people that lived there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even promised the land to the Jewish people in the Quran.
It must have been Joseph and his little sheep, and then the Jews followed.
Yeah.
But the sheep was Islam.
The sheep are Muslims.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
Muslim sheep.
That's right.
When I say the word Israel, what do you think?
Tyranny.
Tyranny.
The word tyranny comes to my mind. The reason is that how can you come to a land that was given by Britain to you, but not by the people itself? And then where you had Jews and Christians and Muslims living for thousands of years in peace, and suddenly you come, you take over a small piece of land, and you increase the land mass, and then you kick the people of that indigenous people out from their own place. So it doesn't make sense to me as a human being. If someone was to come to Luton and was from a different country, say, oh, all you Lutonians get out, and I've grew up here, how would I feel about that?
So would you say that the Arabs were the indigenous people and the Jews weren't the indigenous people?
No, of course not. Of course not.
Okay.
No, of course not. Jews have been there. We know that historically they've been there for thousands of years, and they've been in North Africa and all over the places, and Arabia itself. But for a certain type of people to come and claim it as a state.
Who are those certain type of people?
I would, from what I know, the Zionist Jews. And Zionism is different to Judaism. That we understand that as Muslims.
What is the difference?
The difference between Judaism is governed by laws of religion, where Zionism is not part of that. It's a nationalist understanding of what the worldview should be about.
Yeah. Do you know that all Jews pray 3 times a day to return to Israel?
Do Jews pray 3 times a day?
Did you know that all Jews pray 3 times a day to return there?
No, I didn't know that.
And they've done that for thousands of years.
No, I didn't know that. But from what I understand, I've met Orthodox Jews who are against the state of Israel.
You met Orthodox Jews?
I've met Orthodox Jews who are against the state of Israel. And from what I know about the flag, those 2 blue lines I understand means the river Euphrates to River Nile, right? That's all I know. That's something not many people know about that flag. But that's about it. And I guess Israel, I don't understand. Well, how can you...
Do you know what the flag's actually based on? Because I hear this a lot of times.
The Star of David.
Yes, that's right.
The Star of David, right?
But then the 2 stripes are actually... Have you ever seen Jews praying? When you met those Orthodox Jews,
right?
Were they wearing a prayer shawl?
No, they weren't. They weren't praying.
Because the prayer shawl has the stripes.
2 stripes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea, but the Jews...
And so the thing I would just say is you were talking about the indigenous people, and you agreed that Jews had already been always lived in Palestine, Israel.
Yeah,
they'd always,
and in peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in peace.
Were those Jews allowed to set up their own country? Should they be allowed their own country?
Should they be allowed their own country?
Yeah.
As in, if they rule with justice and they have... How would I say this? If they have their own... If they take over a place and they rule with justice, that's what matters.
So would justice, for instance, would an example of justice be if it was a Jewish country and you had, say, an Arab judge, and an Arab judge was able to send a Jewish president or a Jewish prime minister to jail? Would that be an example of justice?
I guess so, yeah. Well, if he wasn't Arab, and if you would he not be able to do that?
No, that's what I'm saying. So that would be would another example of justice be that, like, Arabs would have exactly the same access to education or healthcare as the Jews? Would these be examples of justice?
I understand that that's practiced even now. Yeah. But the way how it's practiced, the whole rule. I understand Palestinians and I understand the Jewish people, not the Jews, the Zionist people, right?
Yeah.
You have atheist Jews and you have all sorts of Jews. You can't class them as one people.
Yeah. You
have all kind of people living there, but it's just the rule.
No,
right?
The only reason I ask is because you were saying if there was justice, it would be okay. And those 3 examples I gave, so equal healthcare, equal education, and then equal legal and judicial positions.
Of course, that's just one part of it.
There's an Arab judge today called Salim Gibran, and he sent a Jewish prime minister and a Jewish president to jail. So that's an example of justice today in Israel, which was set up by the Jews that were already indigenous, that were already living there. And so that type of Israel, can you support that type of an Israel?
That type, of course, if it's a rule right, that's based on justice and based on love and compassion for people and actually cares for his people, then we are for it.
Right, it's been a real pleasure chatting to you. Actually, if you could give one message to the people of Israel, what would that message be?
People of Israel, and that
Israel.
Not Jewish people, not
Jewish, Arab,
all kind of people,
Orthodox,
right?
secular, everybody. What would
love
that
for yourself, or you love for others, or you love for yourself.
Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, so when I say Israel, what comes to mind?
Oppression,
Why is that?
because of the political system at the time.
And what is that system? How?
Well, it's apartheid from what I know.
But what I would say then, you said you support a two-state solution. Would you be willing to give a message to the people of Israel? Because we have Israelis watching our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I just want to know what message you'd send them.
I'd say read your Bible and do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
This protest is about, you know, apartheid in Israel. Muslims are against Zionism and the usurping of the Palestinian wealth and land, and that's what Muslims have an issue with. But you know, Jews, Christians, we're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day. We've got to live in peace.
Would you respect that the Jews that live in that region, they wanted their own state?
No, they didn't want their state. This was a long plan from a long ago, involving, you know, before the Balfour Declaration and the formation of Israel. And really, if the Jews were oppressed in Europe, which they had been, then surely they should have been given land in Germany.
But what about the Jews that were oppressed in the Middle East?
What, before Israel was formed?
Yeah.
They were not oppressed. They were given
for
land
instance,
and wealth.
in Aden,
and come on, the Jews were butchered in countries like Spain, like the
Muslims.
Muslims
Have you heard of
were.
Alexandria and Aden and places like this in the Middle East? So in Egypt,
Jews were
they were massacred in the street. Have you heard of the Farhud in Iraq?
Well, 1 minute, not just Jews, but Muslims were massacred by the Muslims and non-Muslims as well, and Christians, and there's a whole vicious circle that's gone round. But Jews were given the best positions and the most influential position in the Muslim lands, and you know, and obviously they were persecuted during the Holocaust. There's no denial of that, absolutely no denial of that. But it's interesting that the children whose parents were massacred in the Holocaust are now massacring and turning, in my opinion, the Gaza into a concentration camp. But Jews aren't persecuted in the majority of the world at the moment.
How many Jews live in the Middle East today?
Quite a few million.
No,
actually.
outside of Israel.
Not many.
Exactly.
Because there are not many Jews in the Middle East.
No, but there were a million Jews lived there,
Yeah.
and were murdered on the street and were forced out of their homes.
And when was that?
This was from the beginning of the 20th century through to around 1960s. So there was a period of maybe 60 years.
And do you know why that was?
Because of the same reason that the Jews were massacred in Morocco by the Almohad dynasty, the same reason they were massacred in Baghdad, because there were many Muslims who held deeply anti-Semitic views, while there were many Muslims who held deeply pro-Semitic views.
But you see, Arabs can't be anti-Semitic because they are
Okay,
Semitic.
you
They're
can
Semites
call it Jew
themselves.
hatred if you want to play
You know,
semantics.
so whatever you
if you
want
want
to
to
call
play,
it, so,
this is one of the.
You know, the
for me,
Prophet,
this
the
is
Prophet Islam, one of his wives is Jewish.
Yeah,
so,
but
you know,
she was
they
also,
can't be.
with the greatest
they can't
respect.
be,
With the greatest respect, she
Yeah.
was a war captive.
was
Sophia,
a-
we're talking about Sophia, yeah?
Yes, Sophia.
Her family was massacred.
Yes.
And she was a forced wife who was forced into marriage with him.
No, she was not forced wife. There was no such thing. There was no compulsion in religion. But you know, if you study Islamic history, you know the reason why some Jews were massacred. You know the reason why some Jews, because they betrayed the treaty, and the Prophet gave them. He invited them. He gave them the best treaty, but twice they broke the treaty and they stabbed him in the back. And for that reason alone, they were taught a lesson.
And there are many Muslims today who look at this story and see the Jews as treacherous people and persecute Jews.
They're not Jews. No, they're not treacherous people. They're our brothers.
I can show you many. I can show you many sheikhs. I can show you many imams. I can show you many political and religious leaders within the Islamic world who look at hadiths that talk about Muslim. There's a Jew when the rock and the tree call Muslim. There's a Jew hiding behind me. Come kill him. When they look at Allah Subhanahu wa Taala changing some Jews to pigs and apes. When it talks about all these things, when it talks about a Jew trying to poison Muhammad, they look at these hadith, they look at the Quran, they look at the Quran, and they look at today's Jews, and they make a connection, and they persecute Jews based on their religious reading.
Do Jews not persecute other Jews? Have you been to Israel? Have you seen
I
what goes to the
I was married in Israel.
Have you seen what happens to a number of
my
sects in
family's
Jews?
Israeli.
The Orthodox Jews.
Which Jews are persecuted in
So some of the
Israel?
Orthodox Jews are persecuted
How
by
are they
the modern Jews.
persecuted?
They're not given their rights.
What rights rights are they denied?
They are denied many rights.
Name one.
So one of
Name
them is
one.
they campaign for the Palestinians to return back to Israel, and they're denied those rights.
Sorry, they protest every single week. They're not denied that right to protest. They protest every week.
They're not listened to. The Palestinians can't return
not
to
listening
Israel.
to a protest.
There's no
when
real democracy there.
Anjem Choudhury came here,
Yeah.
comes here and does, before he was in jail, and does ridiculous protests. Yeah,
I agree with that. I think every Muslim who would agree with
he
that.
has the right to protest. Nobody acts on his things. The government doesn't
loves him. The
place
government loves
the
him.
black
They love
standard
him.
over Buckingham
No,
Palace.
look, the
They
government
don't
loves
listen
him.
to him.
He's an outlier. The government loves him.
Absolutely. But his right to protect him can do that.
Come on, let's be balanced here. Are you seeing many Jews are not anti-Islamic bias? We would both have to be stupid.
So
even in England, look at the Metro magazine. They hated Sadiq Khan. Look at Jack Goldsmith.
Which
I mean,
magazine?
he invited him to my
Which
company,
magazine, sorry?
the Metro, for example.
What's that got to do with
There was
Jews?
no positive.
But what's that got to do with Jews?
Come on, there were many editors of that magazine that were actually Jewish, and they absolutely hated him because he was a potential Muslim.
There were many Muslims who were also against Sadiq Khan.
Completely agree, but that's a different.
I mean, he
reason.
called moderate Muslims Uncle Toms.
That's different, absolutely, but he's a Muslim. So,
So you're saying when a Muslim is critical of Sadiq Khan, that's okay, he's one of us, but when a Jew is, it's anti-Semitic.
But there's a pattern here,
Or
right?
anti-Islamic.
There is absolutely a pattern here, and there's no denying that.
Would you be able to give the Israelis who are watching this one message of hope?
One message of hope, I would say that remember your past.
Yeah.
Remember your past and look at what you are doing now, to those people. You were once in that same situation. And if you do that to the people, who you are governing now, does that make you any different to the people who were doing that to you?
And is there anything wrong with that identity with Israel?
No, everyone is equal. There is no evidence that these people are bad.
Excellent. And have you ever met any of these people?
I haven't met, but you're the first person here, and I'm not seeing any evidence that you're a bad person.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Aki. Do you think that Jews have too much influence in the world?
Jewish control all over the world, man. He have money, he have economy, power, and he are everywhere.
So which Jews are we talking about? Can you name any of them? Can you name any of these Jews?
I have no name, but if anyone Jewish, Muslim kill innocent people, that's no nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so, because at one point during the Prophet Muhammad's time, the Jews and the Muslims, as well as the Christians, they all lived as a community, close by communities. So if they had peace with each other, I'm sure we can create peace among ourselves, and inshallah, and all this hatred, with the mercy of Allah, can become better for everybody,
So here we are in Luton, a very Muslim part of Luton, and on the stall here an Israeli flag and a message about Israel. Do you feel safe here?
Absolutely. So we saw Britain First march through here and create riots. We saw the EDL march through here and create riots. We've been here now for 3 hours, and all we've received from the locals is kindness. We've come with a Zionist message which maybe isn't palatable to many of the people, but we've received no intimidation, no violence, nothing but kindness and sincerity. And we would encourage advocates for Israel to go everywhere, go into any neighbourhood and promote Israel, provide people with a perspective they probably haven't encountered. We've changed opinions here today. We've handed out dozens of these flyers explaining why Israel isn't an apartheid state. We've explained why Israel has the right to exist, and the only response we've received from the locals is thanks, thanking us for providing them with a perspective they'd never heard before. So I'd like to thank the 2 volunteers that came out today, which is Jonathan and Ishmael, if you pan over there, who's currently speaking with a Muslim on the bench and trying to explain the merits of the only Jewish state in the world, the only secular democracy in the Middle East, and defend its right to exist to people who've never heard that opinion before. So thank you for listening, and we hope to see you on our next stall.